got time for this Mickey Mouse bullshit!
What you are about to see are the original scripts that George Lucas had developed for the prequels over the 2 decades after Return of the Jedi. It was planned to market these films for older mature audiences who grew up with the first 3 films, but his financial manager and advisors went against him. They advised him to dumb down the story so it will be more family oriented and child friendly. They said that this legacy of his are for children, not adults. It will be like, and I quote their email, kids grew up with Sesame Street who are now adults, and as parents, they brought their children to watch Sesame Street only to see a cynical, bitter tale of real life. You do realize how angry this will make the loyal fans become? Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Originally, it was called Star Wars 1999 to pay homage to Star Wars 1977. It was later called The Fall of the Republic, Rise of the Separatists, and A Galaxy Divided on the original drafts. But then, because the title A New Hope came, it was renamed to Phantom Menace. George Lucas planned to have Steven Spielberg to direct like he originally intended for Return of the Jedi. However, due to Steven Spielberg's unavailability to help because of the film AI that he was making, George Lucas took the reins of his friend and hoped for the best. Thus, months before the production of The Phantom Menace, George Lucas's advisors finally convinced George Lucas to throw out his hard work of the final screenplay and rewrote the entire prequel trilogy in just a month.
Jar Jar is a key to all this.
The advisor liked the news story. The adult-themed original prequels were never seen again until now.
You're listening to the music.
After the title scroll, a Jedi starfighter with a Hyper Booster Ring was chased by a massive Trade Federation battleship. The Hyper Booster Ring was damaged by the battleship. It was unable to enter hyperspace. The Jedi fighter detached from the Hyper Booster Ring and flew towards the planet surface of Tatooine. Then the battleship sent out small fighters to follow him. In this sequence, we were introduced to the pilot, Qui-Gon Jinn, and his co-pilot, R2-D2. R2 was originally green. The Jedi starfighter flew closer to the surface of Tatooine, and the droid fighters continued on close by. On the desert surface, a small hooded figure looked at the sky with his binoculars with a protocol droid, C-3PO. They were standing next to a moisture evaporator. They looked at the sky and saw the battle. The Jedi starfighter flew closer to the surface and towards the rocky canyons, and crash-landed after several droid fighters collided into the rocky desert. The man steps out and ignites his lightsaber, and his droid got off the ship. Qui-Gon destroyed several incoming fighters by deflecting the laser bolts directly back into them. One of them crash-landed and the explosion knocked him over. It destroyed his R2 unit as well. Back in the Trade Federation bridge, a commander droid speaks to Viceroy Gunray. Apparently, the Jedi have crash-landed onto the surface. The pilot may or may not be killed. It was wondering if they should continue to land their troops onto the surface. Viceroy Gunray dismissed the droid, saying that if they land their armies onto the area, any small mistakes may have a misconception of declaring war on the Hutts. Gunray expresses that the communication system throughout this sector of the galaxy has been intercepted and monitored. They will be able to trace the frequency of the Jedi sending whatever transmission to the Republic and jam that frequency. Then, Viceroy Gunray approached Darth Maul. Darth Maul ended the meeting and said he'll be able to locate the missing ship without any political interference. Unlike what we saw in the movie, Darth Sidious was never seen along with Darth Maul, or along with any of the Trade Federation. On the desert, the small figure previously seen, probably a Jawa, looked at the crash site that's probably a long way from here. Back at the crash site, Qui-Gon lied next to the craft and the R2 unit. He was completely passed out and the R2 unit was destroyed. A sandcrawler came and the figure went on speed and drove away. When the figure got back home, he was greeted by Watto in the most unfriendly and cruel way possible. The figure revealed that he was not really a Jawa, but is actually a slave boy in his teenage years. He held some water he had collected. Watto revealed to be abusive and cruel, whipping him and blaming him that the moisture evaporator's weak performance on him. C-3PO tried to defend the slave boy, but was shut off. Watto was sick of 3PO for being a blabbermouth. Watto blamed everything on the slave boy, saying that he is useless for finding pieces of droid scrap and built a protocol droid, C-3PO. He complained that the protocol droid is useless in this condition, and only useful thing would be understanding Bocce. Watto said that he was just as useless as his mother. He pushed the slave boy into the basement and chained him up. In this version, they don't try and sugarcoat the fact that human trafficking is terrible. You don't live in a nice comfy home when you are enslaved. You're forced to do labor, biddings, and things you do not want to do, and get treated like cattle or even worse. The slave boy was portrayed in a way similar to Oliver Twist. The reason for that? Generally, viewers are harsh and they really dislike child actors. Through using reverse psychology, this kid is abused really badly with the contrast of his kindness. This will make the crowd feel sorry for him. And in this original version, he is more mature, silent, and does not say much, and when he does, it is often useful. Also, this boy is orphaned. Later, Watto went to the Jawas and met Qui-Gon, who was still unconscious, who was badly injured. Watto bought Qui-Gon, who was being sold by the Jawas, and he was the cheapest over there. Qui-Gon came along with R2 droid pieces that could be easily repaired. Over the conversation, it revealed that Watto had more slaves before, but while collecting water from the moisture evaporators during one season, many of them were killed or captured by sand people. Watto bought his slave boy as a household slave, and that boy was forced to do all the work that the previous slaves had to do. Watto claimed that Anakin was a hard worker, but it was more entertaining to see him suffer. It showed that Watto is a sadistic bastard. Since Qui-Gon was injured, that's why he's cheap. He was unable to use the Force temporarily. When Watto brought Qui-Gon back, he ordered its slave boy to organize the new junk he brought from the Jawa. C-3PO helped him along. The slave boy was extremely kind. He nursed Qui-Gon back to health. Qui-Gon and the boy started to bond, and he even got named by Qui-Gon, since he had no name but a number. He was named Anakin, and his last name Skywalker, after his mother, which was the only thing that Anakin knew about his mother. Watto made him rebuild R2 with pieces they had in the basement. Qui-Gon made sure that Anakin did not erase any data stored within R2. He made sure that everything was completely transferred. C-3PO helped Anakin to reconstruct the droid. R2 was completely trashed except for the hard drive and its interior memory systems. All data was still intact, including the plans of the Trade Federation. Qui-Gon went to the room and inspected the newly rebuilt R2-D2. Now it's blue. Anakin questioned if Qui-Gon was a Jedi because he found a lightsaber inside the R2 compartment. Qui-Gon wasn't hesitant, he admitted it. He seems to trust Anakin completely, but made him promise not to tell his master. Qui-Gon started to tell Anakin about the Force and warned him fear, hatred, and anger will lead to the dark side, which is completely dangerous. Anakin seemed to be fascinated by it. Qui-Gon asked to come with him to Coruscant and train him. Anakin refused, even though he wanted to become a Jedi. He feared that the world is an ugly place, like what Watto told him. The next day, right before harvest, where Qui-Gon had planned his escape, Sith probes showed up and destroyed their shit. Darth Maul was able to track Qui-Gon down within one day. After a small battle, Qui-Gon was able to destroy the droids through the use of the Force and lightsaber. However, he wasn't as powerful as he was at the beginning of the movie, because he was injured. Watto was stuck in the flaming shithouse, begging Anakin for help. Anakin was hesitant because he hated Watto. However, he saved him in the end. After Anakin rescued him, Anakin was shocked by a shackle again. Watto angrily asked what took him so long. Qui-Gon later explained to Watto about his mission. He was able to intercept the transmission of the Trade Federation that's declaring war on the Republic. Watto demanded for compensation. Qui-Gon quickly made an offer. If he was able to return back to Coruscant, he shall be rewarded handsomely. Watto got them a ship, allowed R2 to be with them, and offered Anakin as a useful accomplice. Before boarding the ship on Mos Eisley spaceport, Qui-Gon encountered Maul, who went there personally to hunt down the Jedi. The two dueled. Qui-Gon told them to take off. Watto flew the ship right above Qui-Gon, and he jumped and landed right on the ship. Darth Maul also went on the ship, but Qui-Gon force pushed him off. Darth Maul watched them escape. Qui-Gon told Anakin that this message cannot be sent to the Republic directly. All the communication systems in the area has been shut down. When they got to space,
It's a trap!
it was to force them to leave the planet as soon as possible and capture them in space instead. They were able to outmaneuver 2 Trade Federation battleships. Watto left the ship and went on an escape pod already. The ship was in extremely bad shape. The engines shut off and the life support system started to fail after the battleships fired up. Qui-Gon and Anakin were about to be captured. Anakin tried to turn the ship around, but he couldn't. The ship was caught in a tractor beam. Qui-Gon realized there is an escape pod left. He shut off the entire ship. He then passed Anakin the droids as he entered the escape pod. Qui-Gon used the Force to close the escape pod. He told Anakin that he must deliver the droids to the Jedi Council to warn the Republic about the Separatist attack. He told Anakin to find his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi on Naboo. Qui-Gon hooked his lightsaber onto Anakin's belt earlier and told him to present it to Obi-Wan, where he is on a mission to arrest a gangster. R2 will be able to locate and recognize him. Anakin did not want to leave Qui-Gon behind because he wants to become a Jedi with Qui-Gon as his master. Qui-Gon explained in order to make sure the Trade Federation believes that they have the upper hand, he must turn himself in. He also wants to know where is the Trade Federation's secret base's location, so he can alert the Republic when he finds out the Trade Federation is committing a revolution and the base will not be at their home planet. Otherwise, it'll be too unwise. Qui-Gon also recorded a message for the Jedi Council beforehand. As the damaged ship entered the Trade Federation's battleship's hangar, Watto's escape pod could be seen from far. Anakin told R2 to loiter the ship beneath the battleship, so it'll be undetectable. C-3PO asked why can't they just leave now. Then,
The battleship aimed at Watto's escape pod and it exploded.
the battleships then went into hyperspace. R2 piloted the escape pod towards the planet of Naboo.